Hi, my name is Andy Ramey and I'm a research wildlife geneticist. I currently serve as the director of the Molecular Ecology Lab at the USGS Alaska Science Center.
Hi, I'm Bobby Pearson. I'm a geneticist here at the Alaska Science Center in the Molecular Ecology Lab. We do genetics here at the Alaska Science Center in support of important management decisions. And a lot of times managers out in the field have questions that can't be answered by observing the animals. And genetics allows us that insight to be able to provide answers on the history of the animals, gene flow amongst populations, and unique units to be managed out in the wild. The one disconnect we have in the lab is that we are working with wildlife and wild species and collecting good samples from those that allow us to have the level of genetic characterization is a challenge because we're not working in human or mouse genetics in a medical sort of way. We're always a bit behind the curve on being able to apply these technologies to wild populations.
In the Molecular Ecology Lab, we develop and apply tools that can be used by a diversity of partners here at the Alaska Science Center and elsewhere. And so these tools can be applied in lots of different ways to do a lot of different things. Population genetics is one tool that we can use to understand shorebirds or polar bears or other wildlife species. Environmental DNA is another tool that we can use to understand the presence of animals or invasive species in the environment. And we can use different molecular tools to understand wildlife health and disease and how different agents might be moving throughout the landscape.
Each process we do requires specialized knowledge of what we're doing. So we need bioinformaticians. We need people that are good in the lab to get the DNA out of the samples. We need to have people that are familiar with each of the different kinds of equipment that we use. We need to have geneticists on staff that are familiar with the wildlife caveats, and we're able to have that conversation between what managers and field biologists are trying to answer with the tools that we have to give them an answer.
Goals of research conducted in the Molecular Ecology Lab are varied and project specific, but generally aim to provide scientific information that our partners and the public can use to make informed decisions about the conservation and management of fish and wildlife and their associated habitats. Results of research may influence how local, state, federal, and tribal partners respond to wildlife disease outbreaks, manage animal populations, handle interactions between wild animals and humans, and monitor fish and wildlife resources.